to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Hannah Phearsdorf, EVP of Finance and Accounting at Bluebridge Financial. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jesse. It's been fun to kind of watch this, what we talked about. I've been following this for a little while now, so I really appreciate you inviting me to come on here.
No, it's great to have you on the program. Not to get off a little of our script here, but when I saw that you were, one of the top women in equipment finance, I looked at your profile. I'm like, okay, we're connected. And then I saw your school right underneath your name, and I'm like, I have to reach out to Hannah. And I see your diploma right up on the wall behind you there. And
yes,
it's nice to meet WVU people, especially ones from upstate New York, like both of us.
I know, we have a lot in common. I was surprised. I hung those up because you pay a lot of money to go to school, and they were sitting in my closet for a while, so I figured they were better use put on my wall. But yeah, I know when you reached out and you mentioned WU, I had no idea that you went there, and I actually haven't met any other WU connections within equipment finance space yet, so this is really nice.
We'll make sure we tag WU in this.
Perfect.
So maybe we can find some fellow Mountaineers. Great. I don't know if you saw the Kansas game over the weekend, but actually no, the weekend it was Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Typical WVU fashion: have a big lead and find a way to almost.
That is the norm, unfortunately. It is painful. As a Bills fan too, I get that on both sides, which is it is tough to be a sports fan in my household.
I wasn't gonna go any Buffalo references. I have a ton of Buffalo and their friends, but awesome. Well, Hannah, thanks again for joining me. For those individuals who haven't the pleasure of meeting you yet, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself, your career to date?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm Hannah Phearsdorf. I am the Executive Vice President of Finance and Accounting at Bluebridge Financial. My career in equipment finance started almost 8 years ago, which is crazy to me. Time has been flying by. When I was thinking about that and I realized it's been 8 years, it is hard to believe. So I actually started my career as a financial analyst with Bluebridge. So I've been here for 8 years. I worked out of our Buffalo office, just wanted to get my foot in the door in a financial industry. Had the opportunity to move to Virginia, which is where we were moving our headquarters about an hour outside of DC. That's where our executive office sits. And I was 23, liked what I had learned so far in the financial analyst role, and decided, just go for it, see if there's a career path there. It's worth looking into. Moved 2 weeks later, and I got thrown into the deep end. There is so much to learn in this industry, and when you sit outside the offices of executive management, you're hearing terms you've never heard before. You are put on projects that you have no idea what you're doing, but that's how I like to learn. I love coming in, doing something new every day. So that's really what my path was like the first couple of years I was here, and how I kind of got to where I am today. So in my current role, I oversee all of finance and accounting. So a couple different departments that roll up into that. I overlook corporate finance, structured finance, portfolio management, capital markets, and accounting.
Just a few.
Just a little bit of responsibility. Yeah.
And how did you come across Bluebridge by chance?
I remember it like it was yesterday. So I was in grad school at the time. I graduated from West Virginia, wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. So I figured it was a good time to go get my MBA. I was working full time and I needed to get my foot in the door. So I was applying to jobs on LinkedIn, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I did have this idea that I wanted to work for a smaller company. I'm someone who really likes to jump in head first. I want to see the work that I put in. I want to see the output. Like, I want to feel like I'm making a difference, which is a lot harder to do if you go join a huge company. And so Bluebridge is a smaller company. That made sense. And I had no idea what equipment finance was. I'll be honest. I was not seeking out that industry. I had never heard of the industry. And as a grad student, I didn't really feel like I had the right to pick and choose. It was more of like, let's just get a foot in the door, figure it out. So I had worked like 8 hours, and that day they asked me to drive up to Buffalo, which is like an hour from where I lived, and then I had a grad school test the next day, and I'm like, do I really want to take this interview? Like, what are you going to do in equipment finance? And I'm like, all right, just go do it. It's worth the practice, worth seeing what it is. Drove up to Buffalo, really liked the people that I interviewed with, really liked the mission of financing small businesses, saw that there was career opportunity, and took the job. So absolutely fell upon it. No intent of jumping into equipment finance. It kind of just happened. And clearly I love it because I've been in the industry for 8 years now.
Kudos to you for, just saying, hey, you know what? What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I think that's good advice to pretty much everyone out there is, something's offered to you. What's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? You get to meet a couple new people. Maybe it's not going to work out. But here you are 8 years later, and you actually made the move from upstate New York to DC. And
yes,
awesome.
Yes. So it all worked out. And I think that's a great point when you're young and you have the chance to go. I mean, really at any age, to just try things, just see how it goes, see if it leads to anything. If it doesn't, you tried. And if it does, then you'll be happy you did it.
Absolutely. Do you mind just kind of introducing Bluebridge?
Yeah. So Bluebridge is a small ticket equipment finance company. Independent equipment finance company. We started back in 2009, based in Buffalo, New York. The original principals were from Buffalo. And really the original strategy for Bluebridge when they first founded it was originate and sell. And so in the 2014, 2015 timeframe, new investors took over majority interest and really wanted to change that strategy. They saw the potential that Bluebridge had. They saw what the industry had going on and really where you could take the company. And so from that year forward, it was a growth strategy, completely different mindset. How they approached everything was different. I joined in 2017. And so at that time, the balance sheet was only maybe just under 20 million. And now we're 10 times that 10 years later. At the time we had one credit facility for $25 million. And I've spent a significant amount of my time diversifying our funding sources. In our world, in equipment finance, that's crucial as a lender. So where we sit today, we have almost 185 million in lending capacity. We have 3 funding sources that we utilize that we've been with for 5+ years now. So amendments, growth, upsizes, renewals. I really put a big emphasis on the relationships with those people because they've been great lending partners for us. So we've been executing our growth plan very well for the last couple of years. Our biggest accomplishment, I think, in later years is we had an inaugural securitization in December of 23. I had mentioned to you earlier, I spent a good amount of time on that. It was something that the company was trying to achieve for a while. And I think as a independent finance lender, that's always the goal. And it really comes with, it gives your company credibility within the market. So even just outside of execution and getting a good deal, it just kind of brings something else to your company within the market that provides comfort, that gives you like that next step up. So we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to try to take advantage of that strategy that we've been working on, and hopefully we'll become a yearly issuer in the securitization market.
Perfect. And then, so are you guys still in Buffalo today?
No. So we had operations in Buffalo, and then in 2019, we moved headquarters down to Virginia, about 45 minutes outside of DC. So the majority shareholders who bought in 2015 are Steve Dervinus and Rob Snow. They're both our chief credit officer, president, and CEO, and they're both based out of Virginia. And so when they decided to kind of change the strategy, they moved operations down to Virginia so they could oversee everything.
And do you have any remote employees?
We do. So anyone in Buffalo who didn't move here like me, we kept on if they wanted to. And so we still to this day have several Buffalo employees. They're kind of the backbone of what we've been doing for a really long time. They've all been here a really long time. Obviously, Buffalo has a special place in my heart. They're hardworking people. They're people that really make a difference to us. So we have them in Buffalo, and then we also opened a office in Irvine, California. I want to say in my years are blending, but I think 21 or 22. And so we wanted a West Coast presence. We've been building out our direct sales team. And so we opened that office really for that. And we have operations out there that are specific to, West Coast hours.
It's a good place to have an originations.
Yes. I'm always happy to go visit that office.
Say now's a great time. Now's a great time.
Yes, I need to get out of what's going on back here. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And since you mentioned Buffalo a couple times, Duff's or Anchor Bar?
This is going to hurt all of my Buffalo people out there. I am not a chicken wing person. I know it's a massive disappointment, and I'm sad to have to share. So I don't have an opinion, unfortunately.
For my physique, I wish I wasn't a chicken wing person, but it's just
if it helps, my husband's favorite is Gabriel's Gate, and so he has a different. I mean, when you live in Buffalo, I think some of the less popular places are maybe more your favorite, if that's helpful.
No, it makes sense. I just, had to ask the question. Sorry.
Yes.
So I want to talk about equipment finance, if you don't mind. So you've been in the industry. This is going on 8 years. General thoughts on the EF industry?
Yeah. I think to this day, it's still similar to what I said about not knowing about it 8 years ago. So I feel like a lot of people who are in the equipment finance industry have been in it for forever. Similar to my story, you get in it and you stay in it because you see the opportunity, you see the growth. It's a really great industry. The people who are within the industry really support and help each other out. So I think once you're in it, it's a great industry to be in. How do we get more people into it? How do we get it to be a more broadly known industry? I don't know if I have an answer to that, but I think that's probably the biggest issue we still have today.
It's always been kind of, this is, like I said, this is my 20th year, and it's always been next generation. Now that I know that you and I went to the WU Business School, I think we'll have to go do one of those campus to career things there.
I think we should. I think that'd be great.
We'll just have to make sure we limit some of the size of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk into one of those massive.
No, and if we could plan it around a basketball game or football game, that would be nice too.
I know my son wants to stay on the West Coast, but next fall we're doing a WVU home game. So we'll make sure we figure that out.
Perfect.
And I don't know if you've done one of those campus to career things for the ELFA Foundation does, but I've done a few at ASU.
Okay.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I have not done anything specific through the ELFA. I know our HR department takes some opportunities with that, and I know a lot of campuses have access to those different things, which is great, but I would love to get more involved. To the point of people not knowing about it, I think the more that we can get out there and get in front of people would be great.
And then maybe pick up a few select interns, that always helps too.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm going to pivot one more time, if you don't mind, to, I'm sure you love seeing this, but, where's the camera?
It's so close.
There we go. Come on.
Yes.
So, congratulations again on this designation. What did that mean to you, Hannah, when you got that email saying you were selected?
Yeah. It felt great, obviously. Anytime you get recognized for hard work, it feels really good. I think I was most excited about the fact that the Monitor takes the time to recognize the top 50 women in general. So being next to other great leaders within the industry is probably what felt the best. When you get in a recognition like that, it really makes you kind of stop and think about everything you've done over your career, which I don't do often. You're so busy, you're always in the moment, you're jumping from one thing to the next. Like it's what I love about what I do. You're constantly on the go and you're thinking and you're pivoting, you're changing. But this really made me kind of take a step back and appreciate how much time I've spent, how much work I've put into things. And I'm sure the other women who are being recognized feel the same way. So it's really good to just kind of take a second and see how far you've come over time and think about how much farther you can still go too.
That's absolutely. You know, nice write up in there, and they do a good job making sure they're focusing on like the person, not just the organization that they work for, which is great.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think they do a great job. We see all their other issues too, and it's a great way to see who else is out there, get familiar with other people within the industry. They highlight a lot of different sectors too. Like I'm in the finance side, but equipment finance is not just finance. It's sales, marketing, advertising, third party. It has everything, and they do a really good job of kind of sourcing all of that and bringing it to one place.
Sure, sure. And I'm sure, 8 years, I don't know how often you're able to get out and go to some of these conferences, but typically it's, white guys in blue suits. So I don't know if you've been able to see some of that demographic shift since you've been out there, but we kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So our CEO and president, who have been in this industry for a long time, and then also just Wall Street background, have been going to tons of conferences forever. We go to the ABS West conference every year, and they'll see people and they're like, I've seen that person for 25 years now or 30 years now wearing the same suit, doing the same thing. And it cracks me up. But I think even in 8 years I have seen a shift. It has been, from what I started, a very predominantly male industry. I think that's typical with finance in general. And over 8 years, I have been seeing change. I know Blue Bridge spends a lot of effort. We hire recent college grads. We really try to develop and grow young talent, which will help kind of change that demographic. And I think things like the monitor, when you recognize women, it's helpful for other young women who want to maybe get into this space, see that there's an opportunity and space for them. So I think we're doing all the right things to continue to maybe change and develop and grow. So we're seeing it. I don't know if we're all the way there yet, but there's definitely been some positive changes.
No meaningful change happens overnight. It's all gradual.
Amen. Exactly.
And so how are you finding the college graduates? Are you going to them, or are they applying similar to what you did?
Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of different approaches, and it really goes back to what we talked about. It's still hard to attract that younger talent because there's a lack of, knowledge on what this industry is. And when you say equipment finance, I don't think that naturally excites a 21-year-old. At least that was my feeling. So I hate to generalize, but I think that's probably the case. And so we really put in a lot of effort. Like when we put out job recs, if we're going to utilize LinkedIn or any other type of source, we're putting up a job rec of highlighting all the different things that you can really do within the space. If you're a finance graduate, you may not know what in finance you really want to do. And so on my job rec, it's going to say all the different pieces of finance you can touch. You can be in structured finance where you're working with lenders. You can utilize the securitization market. You can be on the capital market side selling loans. You can be in corporate finance talking to investors and raising capital. It has everything. And so I think we really try to put that out there to show people, get your foot in the door, find out what you want to do, and grow your career that way. So that's where we try to focus, but we send people to career fairs. We try to use word of mouth. If you know people, we really do a little bit of everything, but the more that we get the industry out there, the easier that will become.
Perfect and well said there. One of the things that you'll see if when we do one of those campus to career things, it's like they have a standard slide deck they want. But here you go. I use that as kind of a talking point. Basically just say, look, here's equipment finance, here's all the things you can do. However, this is the path that I took
Sure.
throughout my career. And I think that's, you sit there and I've been a service provider for 20 years. Different aspect, right? Half of this
Right.
industry is made up of service providers, whether if it's technology, consulting, legal, you name it. And people sit there and they're like, oh, I can do that too. I can, do this. And here's the lifestyle that this industry is able to afford you.
Yes.
And that right there, I think, flips that switch where they're like, wait a second. There's a lot of money to be made in this industry, as well as having a career path and everything else. And that's what young kids want.
Yes, absolutely. I think when you talk about too how many people have been in this industry forever, that really highlights why, or it tells you or shows you why people stay, right? You don't stay if you're unhappy, if you're underpaid, or whatever it may be. Clearly, if people are staying in this industry, there's career growth, there's progression, there's money to be made, there's all the things that people are looking for. And so when you have someone like yourself go out and tell people, okay, this is the career path I took, this is why I've stayed here, then the light bulb goes off that they can do something similar, and that's what they're looking for.
Perfect and well said. And I guess I have a follow-up question for you. What advice would you have for someone that's just getting into this industry?
Learn as much as possible. I always say this to anyone that I manage. I always tell people, be selfish with your learning, because in this industry, from what I understand, we're all kind of similar. We're on the go, we're pivoting, we're changing, we're doing all these things. It's quick, it's fast paced. And so anyone's willing to help anyone learn and grow, at least within Blue Bridge. But you have to take that step to ask for it, and you have to take that step to make that happen for yourself. And I just think it's really important that you focus on your learning and how to grow yourself. And so my advice is always be selfish with your learning, learn as much as possible, ask as many questions as possible, help develop yourself, and you'll be just fine.
Well said. Well said. So I guess before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about WVU, and I'm assuming the campus was sort of similar, but when I was there, but it was almost unrecognizable at some points.
Yep.
How big that place has become.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
You get a chance to go back there at all?
I've only been back once since I graduated, which is baffling. And for people who are not great with geography, always made me laugh. When I was at West Virginia, I had a lot of friends who were from Long Island or New York City. And and when I would go home to Buffalo and they would be in New York City, they'd be like, hey, we should meet up. Like, we're both in New York. And I'm like, I am 6.5, 7 hours from you. I am closer to you in Buffalo when you're in West Virginia. That's a 4.5 hour drive. Buffalo to New York City, 6.5 hour drive. So I did not, when I moved back to Buffalo, I didn't get to go back a lot. And I'm still probably only 4 hours, but it's tough to get out there. I would like to get back for a football game.
Next fall it is for sure.
Yes.
Yes. Fall for sure. Yeah, it is. When people say, "Oh yeah, you're from New York," and it's like the city, and it's like, no. It's like, no, from upstate. Oh, yes. You mean Westchester? No. Upstate, and you're further. You're another 3 hours west of.
Right. I'm like, that whole part of the state that exists. That's where we're from.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, actually, so my first job out of college was actually in New York City. So while you took the DC route, I took the New York route. Because young, and why not?
How long were you in New York for?
Let me see, 2003, and then I moved to Arizona in 2010.
Okay.
So 7 years.
When you moved to Arizona, is that when you got into equipment finance, or how did you get into the industry?
So I actually, my first job out of college was retail.
Okay.
Then I took my first sales job with Yellow Book.
Okay.
Selling Yellow Pages, which was interesting.
Yep.
And then I had like a 7-part interview process with a company out of North Jersey to start an equipment finance vertical at their company.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
it was 20 grand a year in revenue, and within 5 years it was 3 million recurring. And I
Wow.
got into this industry and got to meet the people, got to have some good clients, relationships, and it's like once you get in, you don't want to leave.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. That's great.
yeah, so now 20 years later, it's kind of doing my own thing, which happens.
Which it looks like you're doing very well. 218 of these, or how? What?
Yeah. So this will be
Close to
episode
that.
218. Yeah. Yeah.
So how long is that? 2 years of doing this, or how many years have you been doing this?
So let me see. No, that's basically these were a COVID hobby towards the end of 2020
Okay.
when I started doing them, just
And
to
look
kind
what
of
it grew
interview
into.
friends. And yeah, it's fun. And
Awesome.
now we put these out weekly, and I get to spend time with individuals like yourself, learning about your career, and more importantly, kind of showcasing this industry that we love. So,
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've learned a lot from these because you don't always get to talk to everyone, And so if I see a name that I'm familiar with or someone that I haven't been able to catch up in a while, I will just watch the fireside chat and I'm like, okay, I'm caught up. I know what I need to know and we can keep working.
well, hopefully you're listening to them and not watching me make a fool of myself on a regular basis, because it just
You do a great job. You do not make a fool of yourself.
thank you. Um, and I do ask everyone who comes on the program to give me a fun fact about themselves.
Oh, a
So,
fun fact.
yeah. So I guess what makes you tick outside of the work that you do at Equipment
So,
Great.
yeah. I am someone who likes to stay busy. I'm told by my husband I don't know how to relax. I think his version of relaxing is a little bit different than mine. So I like to be busy. In the summer, I garden. I love to cook. I just picked up golf last year, which is my new obsession.
Okay. Okay.
So if
Okay.
you ever want to do a golf outing, I'm all in. I love the idea of getting outside and getting to play a sport that you can do the rest of your life. I played sports in earlier years, but I'm not going to play pickup basketball. I'd probably pass out if I tried to do that. I'm not in shape for that. So golf has been the new thing that I'm obsessed with. But I just like to stay busy and stay active.
It's great. Gardening. I I want to say I like gardening. I like planting things and watching them grow, and then inevitably I don't get all the time to take care of them that they need, and they just die. And I'm kind of like, this sucks.
That is my peaceful time in the morning. So I wake up before work. I mean, I garden typically from like April to I have tomatoes through like December some years, depending on the weather here. And I do that before work. It is my 45 minutes to get outside, get some sunshine, some relaxation. Our jobs can be, high stress in a good way. Lots of responsibilities, lots going on. So that's my time to kind of relax, settle in, start the day in a positive way, and then go to work.
Fantastic. So if anyone needs gardening tips, we know who to reach out to now.
I'll do my best. I didn't say I was a good gardener. I just said I like to garden. There is a difference.
It's fair. It's fair. I finally had to go to the indoor aero gardens here in Arizona because everything would just die.
Oh,
So,
that's depressing. That's sad.
it is what it is. Either that or I'm
Yeah.
just crappy.
We
But
won't say you're a bad gardener. We'll blame whatever's going on with the weather down there.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I will send you some videos though. I have I make my own pesto. Really,
Ooh.
um,
Yeah, I
easy,
make a ton of pesto. I love it.
easy, right? It's not like a hard thing to do. But that's what I use the aero gardens for.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I have a bunch of freezer jars of pesto. Basil grows like crazy here, so that is the one thing I will say I've agreed them with.
I mean, I plant them in these aero gardens. I have two of them, and that's it. I don't dare put them outside because I'll.
Yeah. Yep.
Is what it is. Awesome, Hannah. Well, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for telling your story, and look forward to our paths crossing. What we got here? I'm sure for before Capital Connections, most likely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Again, this is a great opportunity for me, and I love watching all the other ones that you do. You really bring awareness to the industry, get people's names out there, and what other companies are doing. So, thank you.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again on your top women designation.
Thank you.
All right.